Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary on Alcatraz Island, which was 1.25 miles off the shore from San Francisco, practically in the San Francisco Bay. The island was used as a lighthouse and military fortification as well as military prison before being converted in 1934. This year, the penitentiary would be closed to the public. It wouldn't be until 1972 that National Park Service would purchase Alcatraz. The year is 1963, and this Willys Wagon could be had down Kaiser Jeep dealer. But before getting into this one, I'm your host, Jay. Welcome to What It's Like. If you're into automotive history, you've hit the proverbial jackpot. We cover the history, specs, design. You get to see these cars up close like you never got to see them before. If any of that sounds of interest to you, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. Willys, yes, that's how the brand is supposed to be pronounced. It was owned by Kaiser in 1963. Let's get into a little bit of background history before diving in deep on this one about the Willys Overland brand. And this is the short end of it. If you want to know more about the Willys Overland Company, we did an episode that covers all of the nitty-gritty details, especially in the beginning. I'm going to leave a link for it here as well as a link in the description. It's one of the best episodes that I've ever made. Not tooting my horn, just saying the facts. Founded in Toledo, Ohio in 1903 as Overland Company, and it was an extension of the Standard Tire Company. They wanted to get into the automotive business. In 1908, John North Willys would purchase the company. He would rename the company Willys Overland in 1912. Fast forward to 1953, an automotive company that started up right after World War II, Kaiser Fraser. Headed by Henry J. Kaiser, who was an industrial mogul. He had his hands in a lot of different pies, so to speak. His company was one of the companies that built the Hoover Dam. He also ran Kaiser Steel as well as Kaiser Liberty Ships. The guy had more money after the war, and he wanted to make a car that bared his name. Henry J. would partner with Joseph Fraser, who was a business executive working for Chrysler, Willys, and at the time of their partnership, Graham Page. The company started out as Kaiser Fraser, but the Fraser name would drop in 1953, being renamed to Kaiser Motors, and would purchase Willys Overland in 1953 for $62 million, mostly for the Jeep rights. After the Willys Overland acquisition, the name was changed to Willys Motors Incorporated. Kaiser would move their operation from Willow Run to the heart of the Willys Empire, the plant in Toledo, Ohio. Kaiser would produce cars there through the 1955 model year before moving their car production to Argentina. Jeeps would still be produced at the plant in Toledo, Ohio. In 1963, the company was renamed to Kaiser Jeep. 1963, Kaiser Jeep model lineup. These aren't in any particular order. Jeep CJ, Gladiator, Wagoneer / Wagoneer Delivery, Willys Station Wagon, FC Truck Line. 1963 was the last year for the Willys Station Wagon, being replaced by the Wagoneer, first appearing back in 1946 as the people's car, but it might actually be the first sports utility vehicle here in the States. Willys also made a convertible version in the late 40s, early 50s called the Jeepster. Willys produced this all-steel station wagon for 17 years, changing very little during its production run. Was offered with your choice of 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder engine, as well as 2-wheel or 4-wheel drive. 176 and a quarter inches long, 71.75 inches wide. It is 72 inches tall, so that means that this is actually taller than it is wide, which is interesting, only by a quarter of an inch. 104.5 inches is the wheelbase that it rides on. It weighs 3,093 pounds. Price, $1,895, which would be equivalent to you spending $19,804.55 in the year 2025. Moving on to engines, which there were two. Engines to choose from, starting out in the proverbial basement with the 134 cubic inch displacement Hurricane F-Head inline 4, 2.2 liters. It was good for 75 horsepower, 4,000 RPM, 114 pound-feet, or 155 newton meters around 2,000 RPM, with a bore of 3.125 inches and a stroke of 4.375 inches. Compression could be anywhere from 7 to 7.8 to 1 when backed with a 3-speed manual with overdrive. 0 to 60 could be had in a very brisk 30.8 seconds, which is on par with the Volkswagen Beetle. Top speed is allegedly 70 miles per hour while achieving an average of anywhere between 16 to 20 miles to the gallon. Moving on to the biggest and baddest engine available for this truck. 230.5 cubic inch displacement Tornado overhead cam inline 6, 3.7 liters. It's good for 140 horsepower at 4,000 RPM, 210 pound-feet, or 285 newton meters at 2,000 RPM, with a bore of 3.34 inches and a stroke of 4.48 inches. Compression is 7.5 to 8.5 to 1 for main bearings when backed with a 3-speed manual with overdrive. 0 to 60 could be had in a much better 13.2 seconds. Alleged top speed of 87 miles per hour while achieving an average of anywhere between 17.4 to 18 miles to the gallon. I found this 1963 Kaiser Jeep Willys station wagon at Classic Auto Mall out there in Morgantown, Pennsylvania, where they got this vehicle, and they got at least 1,000 other cars, trucks, SUVs, vehicles for sale when recording this episode. Anybody can go peruse their inventory, whether that's online or in person. Let me tell you, when you walk through those doors for the very first time, you see those two secretaries sitting there at the desk. I swear you can hear angels sing. Ah, for hours of operation directions. And to get the full scoop on this wagon, be sure to click the link below after the show. Let's talk styling. Just look at these fenders. Notice it has a peak. Bumper design is pretty basic, but it does have this overrider bar and bumperettes. The grille comes to a point, and notice the bright bars go horizontal, painted bars go vertical. Headlights are pretty big. Here's my hand for reference, 7.5 inches. Turn signal indicators just below. I'm assuming that's for the horn. Got the Willys badge in the front with all of the different lines going on in this hood ornament design. This car does have a center line that goes back towards the single piece windshield with windshield wipers that oppose. Just check out that hood profile. 4-wheel drive on the hood. Fenders come down and they taper back into the body so that they don't go into a running board. This one's two-tone, dark brown on the bottom, green on the top. There's beads at the top here, and then indentations in the middle. And then there's more beads at the bottom. This truck does have a cowl vent, windshield wipers that come together or oppose, windshield washer squirter. Side mirror is mounted to the door itself. This truck has drip rails which run the perimeter of the cab, and they just keep going. Notice all of the different channels in the roof. Got sliding windows in the middle. So check out that cargo space back there with the wood slats. Spare tire in the back off to the side. The rear bumper wraps clear back around to the wheel opening in the rear. I wouldn't say that this is flared. It's just a protrusion. Brake lights are petite. The back bumper is of a different design, and it's 3 pieces. The wraparound piece, piece in the center, another wraparound piece with Willys in the middle, and it's attached right there. License plate light. I wanted to show you these door handles. They're like Carmen Kia door handles. Also, the seat has a weird split. It's like a 60-40 split, maybe not quite that much, but single seat and then bench over there. I'm not going to get in the back. There isn't enough space to get back here, but we could talk about all the creature comforts from here. You have an ashtray in the panel itself. The windows slide open. There is an armrest. And then the bench seat back here, it's the same split, but it's reversed. So the single seat's on the driver's side and the wider seat is on the passenger side. That's interesting. And then there's wood slats for the floor. Very utilitarian. There is a dome light in center. Everything found on the passenger side is also found on the driver's side. Ashtray as well as armrest on the panel itself. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, you have the high beam switch, clutch, brake, gas pedal. Just take a look at this interior. Here is what over the hood looks like. Here's what first person over the hood would look like. On to the button switches and knobs, starting with the tiny knob at the top of the dashboard, like right adjacent to the window. That is for the windshield wipers. 9 mile per hour speedometer. Just kidding. That's 90 mile per hour speedometer. Warning lights for amp meter and oil pressure. Coolant temperature and gasoline gauge is at the bottom. This has what looks to be aftermarket amp meter gauge. Key, choke, ashtray. I'm assuming that is throttle control and cigarette lighter. Just under the dash is the climate control settings. Fan blower speed. Off is at the top. Low, high. Temperature slider at the bottom. To the right, warmer. Up above, there are sun visors, and they are on the massive size. Here's my hand for reference. There is a rear view mirror in center and another sun visor over here. Taking a real quick gander under the hood, this one has that overhead cam in line 6. If you want to know more about that engine, we covered it in an engine episode, which I'll link here. Single belt system. The crankshaft is powering the fan, water pump combo, and the generator, which you can see poking out. Distributor is right underneath the fuel pump in line 6 with that interesting overhead cam arrangement. Following the spark plug wires, look at the spark plug location. So you remember earlier whenever I said that vent outside was for the horn? Apparently, it's actually to bring in fresh air from outside into the cabin. Dual horns air cleaner, 12-volt battery. On the positive side, this is a cool truck wagon with four-wheel drive capability, good gas mileage for what it is. Surprisingly spacious considering the size. It even has a rear seat. Cowl ventilation, good size of storage in the rear as well. Very utilitarian. You could spray it out with a hose. Against it, the four-cylinder, it might be a bit underpowered. There aren't any rear doors to get to the rear seating area. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. Two scenarios. Which one of these would you rather have? 1963 Chevy Suburban or 1963 Kaiser Jeep Willys station wagon or 1963 Dodge Town Wagon. I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. On to the second scenario, 1963 Jeep Wagoneer or 1963 Willys station wagon or 1963 Jeep FC. Once again, going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to get both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below. Or you can always send me an email at what_its_like@yahoo.com. And it's does not have an apostrophe. It's just ITS. Thank you so much for everything. Until next time, toodaloo! Welcome to the after show. This part of the video doesn't have any sound or commentary, but you get to see this truck up close. All of the detail that you don't get to see from far away. Enjoy.